I don't want to be meat free. I've tried going vegetarian. I do occasionally do some meat fasts, so I'll avoid meats for a little bit here and there. After reading Dr. Sinclair's book, I tried going all plant. Just can't do it. I enjoy my animal proteins.
I'm in a country where I actually don't like the local food because it's all fried rice and, like everything is like carb heavy and things like that. And I don't like that. I don't eat that. I had a problem with finding some really nice and good nutritious food. I would highly recommend to go and get Dr. Sean Baker's book, which is amazing. And then also the Deep Nutrition book that we previously recommended, amazing book as well. So what I did here is that I just went to a really big grocery store and I just got a bunch of steaks and some eggs and some cheese, and that's it. And then there is like some cold coffee in there in my fridge, and that's it. And then some supplements on the fridge door, and then there is nothing else in my fridge right now. The height of a species of like the human body is largely dependent on the availability of the nutrients. And when did the human race peaked in terms of height? It was actually 25,000 years ago.
Oh, really?
And this happened when the megafauna was still alive. So they were chasing the mammoths and the big mammals, and there was an abundance of meat for everyone to eat. And the human being was like, the average human being back then was like over 2 meters high. With the introduction of crops and agriculture and things like that, and changes in nutrition, the human body is changing, not only the height, but the structure of the skull and things like that. The reason why crops started being so popular, in the last 10 centuries, basically, is because the human population was growing, and they realized, okay, you know what? Chasing for meat is actually quite inconvenient. So we might as well just switch to crops, and then we can grow the population more. It wasn't that we were evolved to eat that. It was just convenient.
Because I find that I do best, at least I feel like I operate at best when I at least have some carbohydrates. I'll have my meats. So I've got my proteins and my fats that are sort of my primary energy source. But if I don't have at least some kind of a carbohydrate, generally from like vegetables, I find if I generally, I'm more of an omnivore. I feel like that's just kind of my natural best.
We're going back to our ancestors and how they were eating. They were hunters and gatherers, right? So they were gathering berries as well. So berries do have some carbs, but they're also super rich in antioxidants. They're activating a bunch of very useful processes in your body. They're good for your immunity.
Now, and I think it's important to highlight what you just said. It's that our ancient ancestors, they ate all of the whole animal. And when you have an animal that you're eating, all of the things that the animal ate, it's condensed within that animal. So a lot of times people talk about, okay, yes, you can get all of your protein from plant sources. And that is true. You can get protein from plant sources, but it's incredibly inefficient as compared to eating meat. And the thing is, you have to think that herbivore that ate the plant did all of the processing for you. It assembled all of those amino acids into a perfectly whole protein that you can absorb, and you can get all of the amino acid profile. Whereas you have to really try hard to find where am I going to get all of these different amino acids, because they're incomplete when compared to meat. Our ancestors ate the liver, and they apparently, back then they had a palate for it. Maybe we talked about this before. It's not for me. We invented fire, or we discovered it. We don't really know, right? Whenever that started, we didn't have to dedicate so much of our physiology to digestive organs. And so we can dedicate that to a higher functioning brain. We can dedicate it to whatever else that we want to do. And there's so much discussion about it. There's a lot of, sometimes just a lot of confirmation bias. I think it should be this way. Therefore, I'm going to find the science that gives me that result. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I'll do that. But a lot of times we argue about it. We act like, oh, I'm so right or I'm so wrong. But ultimately, the goal is to live a long, healthy, happy life. And we have a lot of diversity within our species. So for those of you guys who are watching, who are the vegans and vegetarians, that's awesome. It just simply, it seems like it doesn't work for me. And Elena, it sounds like it doesn't work for you. But as we're figuring it out now, there's some real interesting things. And I think a lot of it has to do with listening to your body. If you guys are interested in this, take a look at all the videos and check out the links below for In Bio.